Hello, I'm Mesk, and I have just woken up and decided I would start casting this before Tree Tribe, Estranged Aviary, joins us again. We're going to pause and take a look at the map. So, let's start our day off right. It is Btyb. I'm assuming it's supposed to be Btyb. Am I not mistaken? Against Shambler. But meanwhile, in the background, we have Day 7 Auto V quality. Hey, it doesn't... They fixed the pausing. Or maybe that's just a single player bug I was ringing to, I'm not sure. Speaking of pausing, the map's name is Vanishing Valley, something recovering from accident-related injuries. It is Protoss versus Protoss. Let's have a look at this map. So, there's a ramp right here, there's another ramp right here that leads to an expansion. There's a million ramps over here and bases over here. One of the things I've kind of noticed with the maps that a lot of these people are making is that they're all extremely unsafe. Like, multiple entrances, mega massive wide open bases, easily attacked backlines. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on really early game aggression in a lot of the maps. There is a couple of exceptions. I think most notably the ones I've seen so far, the ones related to Veek. We also run into a lot of shit like this, which you can get really... That looks like a rock. I think it'll block pathing, and it can be really confusing if you don't see that at a glance. There's some repeating textures here and there, which is a little hard to deal with. It's actually kind of interesting when you think about this project, because there are going to be some issues with the individual maps where they have repeating textures or whatever. But actually, the tile set work they've done on this project is actually entirely unprecedented. I think in a lot of cases where we're seeing like these hard edges and stuff, it's actually the mappers that have fucked up somehow. But there was just a lot of custom map tiles, and that's never really been done before in StarCraft at all. The closest to really get, I think, is like the NES sprites that Metatron put in, and yeah. A lot of these expansions also look pretty low yield on minerals. We're seeing a lot of like five mineral counts on, I think, just about every expansion. So it's a very mineral light map, although most of those minerals are like 8s and then some 6s, so we don't really see too many lower ones. So it is what it is. Well, okay, so I used the fraud launcher, which is their updater. Yes, the project actually has an updater now, and we're gonna just hope that it actually worked this time, because previously, I couldn't actually run this until I put it in the base directory. So there was definitely some kerfluffle with getting this to work. Slightly bit more than the average project, which was always just double-click an exe and you're good to go. That's just due to the level of source changes that have been made. Source file changes. The whole directory structure and everything like that is completely different than a conventional StarCraft project. And somehow, I've heard people tell me that just double-clicking an exe is too much work to run a project. Yikes. So, now Lattice will be spotted. It's a gateway into Lattice, as Btyb is starting up what will presumably be Draken in production. The map distance is not really short, but it's not really that long either. So... early trading is definitely quite possible. He might lose his Nexus if he isn't careful. There is some shenanigans going on over here. Oh no! Oh shit! His wingman had his back. Early Warden, expecting vassals, because why not? But I'm actually expecting Sims. That seems to be that something happened to them, where they decided that Sims were the in-opener. Yes, that is it. And Shambler has just been spamming Sims in every Protoss game, including those FFAs. So, yeah, it's a little unusual. We can see their indicator lines now. This tells you where the rally points are. We can see him just constantly changing it over and over and over again. Just farming up his APM, I guess. Last I recall, they were trying to get an APM counter working inside of replays, but I think it was causing some desyncs. When you are dealing with Blizzard code, absolutely no conventions or rhyme or reason apply. It is just puritanism, start to finish. I've worked with Blizzard games since 1998. All of them are all shit. All of them. The programming, the quality of the content, it is all garbage. And it only gets worse. Starcraft is actually comparatively well put together compared to, say, Diablo 2 or Warcraft 3 or, obviously Starcraft 2. We've seen a lot of that. And it's hard to imagine that it took that long for custom content developers to get into doing the kinds of changes this project is doing. But it has been, and that's just because there hasn't really been a lot of actual programmers inside the community. And Pernogo's virgin experience with programming is related to this project. So I also think that just a lot of people didn't really have a lot of conviction, right? There was never really that much conviction in Blizzard Customs content, regardless of which platform it was for, Warcraft 3, Starcraft 2. Nobody really had conviction to make high quality content. Indeed, the early jacket-in is here. It's very possible you could get this Warden down. And that froze the sim advance because Shambler's been forced to put his attention on his base for the time being, and that gave Btyb just a little bit of opportunity to prepare. He's still kind of chilling out here. So I did observe one of the other castovers where we saw a very similar matchup here. It was Deep Dark Fantasies versus Kian. Very similar Drakiden versus Sim matchup. Eventually, the Sims were defeated by Tech. And their balancing has been changed. I believe they've lost one armor pen, but if Btyb isn't careful here, they can still pick apart his base. You don't really want to be fighting on top of the Warden. It's unnecessary extra damage, but Shambler kind of realized that a little bit too late. Does take out another jacket-in. This one here is still chilling out in his base, and he does still have that Warden alive, so some trading, but not much permanent damage done to either player. He's going to force it out. The Simulacrum could use a slight increase to its walk animation speed. That'll probably make it appear slightly less derpy. This Dragoon is just trying to waste his time as much as possible. Very successful, might I add, though he's not doing anything particularly time-sensitive at the moment. There is, however, a lot of Sims. Shambler is going to have to wait to gather all of them, although he seems to be sending these ones back to his base instead of gathering them all for an all-in. Not even harvesting. He's harvesting a little bit of gas, but not really that much. Not harvesting too much gas. He's got a lot of minerals in the bank, though. He might be looking to make an expansion. He has map controls, so he absolutely can. Nope. He's going for more gas. Oh, never mind. He did send another scribe up there. I didn't see him sneak over there. Okay, he's gone into contain then. He sent these guys down here. He's just going to hold and contain. There is still this southern base that Btyb can take if he wants it. Now he has more than enough Dragoons to eat Drakenins. Old habits die very hard. To squash any single one of these groups of Sims. That's kind of the part of the problem, right? Like, you've lived 20 years with things that look a certain way, that sound a certain way, that behave a certain way. To get out of that mental memory, the muscle memory of your memory, the way that you view things, the way that you see things, it takes a very, very long time. And, it's just the limitations, right? Like, they don't have custom assets for everything. And that can very much absolutely play the way how you expect things to behave too. Like, the numbers are all different. Armor penetration exists, so on and so forth. But you're used to these things looking this way and playing a certain way. So, at least for me, it's definitely been a very big challenge. I'm not sure about these players though. I don't know their history. So, some focus firing going on, but there is a couple of manifolds there that again add a little bit of damage. This ramp's a good spot for him to hang out so they don't just constantly swarm him, tickling him to death. An expansion coming out here. Kind of an interesting choice for an expansion. Although, I suppose because the ramp is here, it's not too risky. It's just a very strange map. There's only 3 minerals on this southern base. That's probably why he decided to take that middle one. Very, very low econ map, that's for sure. So one of the things you might want to do is when you check your unit's HP is you don't want the low HP unit out in front. There's a much higher chance of the higher HP units being able to dance back and flash shield. Then the low ones might get picked off. So something I've always tried to be consciously aware of. We have a Vagrant out. I've used those a couple times against Perno Go with reasonable success. They don't really do a heck of a lot of base damage, but their attack speed is very high. I found them to be quite strong because they're not very expensive. So Btyb here, maybe just trying to thin this army a little bit. He's kind of backing himself into a narrow corridor there. The pathing kind of screws him up, but a couple of Draconins down that way, picking off a few stragglers. Shambler is a little contained, but not really. There's a little bit of pressure here, but he's not really in too much danger at the moment. A couple of the DTs, the Cabalists, I think they are, would work very well at this point. If he can get the freedom to make them, he can just send them down. They're very, very strong. You do have to kind of babysit them, though. So Shambler's forces get kind of split right here. He kind of really committed a lot to the small group of Draconins on that ramp. And they did kill a lot of them here. They're still going to cause him some problems at this point. That's still going to tie him for a long time. So the military victory hasn't earned him back any map control. The last of the Draconins have been defeated, except for the couple that are hanging out there. Btyb is still spamming Draconins as much as possible, and slowly defending out these bases. Both players keeping their resources down fairly low, except for Shambler's gas. His gas is very high. Tech options would be very good at this point if he can spare some minerals for them. But since he took the low mineral base, that will be a little more difficult. Decides to push out here. This expansion is fairly safe for the moment. He does have to cross quite the distance. He has a chance to fortify it. And this Draconin escapes. Both players very, very committed to their current production, and they're just really just trying to outmaneuver each other with just these few sets of units. So he's checking down here with his whole army. Nothing's actually over there. Sitting on a ledge there might give away his position, but it also is a good defensible ledge in general. So he's probably going to go up there first. Manages to save that Draconin. Taking a little bit of damage here. Not a good engagement for Btyb at the moment, since some of his Draconins weren't able to actually be attacking. That one dies eventually. Somewhat of an evenish trade. He does force Shambler back once more. Shambler at this point is indeed going to start expanding his production. He's going to Archons. I was very surprised at how strong Archons were in those FFAs. I hadn't seen them up until that point. And Protoss versus Protoss, I have no idea how much they fare. All of the units that Btyb is fielding at this point are ranged. And here we are seeing the results of the very, very short cliffs and map distances here. This matrix is going to be cancelled. Third expansion coming down for Btyb on this side. Lots and lots of back and forth tickling going on here, trading constantly. Btyb is taking kind of a lot of damage from this heckling, because they do move a little bit faster. I love that walk cycle. It is absolutely splendid. That's some fucking Bryce 3D shit there. Again, just trading. Nothing decisive going on. Chandler keeps him locked in his base, but he doesn't accomplish very much himself either. The big difference at this moment is Btyb is getting that third expansion, and Shambler is looking at this very, very depressing second expansion that's not even harvesting gas at the moment. But there is an Archon coming. It could change the tide quite a bit, depending on if he's able to get some nice splash with it. And this is firing up. There is a sequestered icon coming up. Now, there is no gas caps, so I don't think there's going to be architects anytime soon. He might just go straight for a Cantorus, which are very, very slow, and it doesn't look like he's going to have any transports for them. So, perfect for an Archon. Looks like Shambler has his eyes on a third, a little bit more distant, and these are moving down here. They might well discover that expansion, but at the same time, Shambler's massive units has come over here, and he's going to have to pull back. Archons have 5 armor. They're reducing most of the damage from the Matrix. However, the Archon has taken a lot of damage from that static defense. So his actual army just proceeded forward, and he's sacrificing the base, and it's going to run right into another Archon. The Archon dies, tanked a little bit, wasn't much backline for it, so that one dies kind of pointlessly. This one here is regenerating its shields. Shambler's main is in trouble. This one pylon powering half of his structures is going to go down. Shambler is going to lose his main, and Btyb has some spinning. There's going to be a base trade, unless Shambler decides to pull back. No, he's going to go he's going all in. It's a base trade. But Btyb is in a little bit more defensible of a position here. There's nothing coming out of that sequestered icon at all. No focus firing going down on that Archon, although most of it's held. Oh, they're both shooting it. Meanwhile, Shambler has lost all of his workers. He's got this base here is still warping in. The Archon did actually die. It died. Some Draconians came out. They're going to die. The scribes are tickling. The DPS is split a little bit here, so Btyb gets a lot of mileage out of that last Draconian. However, the Simulacrums are starting to split. I have no idea. Oh, that's a Vagrant Shade. Those are different than normal Vagrants? I honestly have no idea. Yeah, there's 2 of them. Vagrant Shade. I honestly have no idea what the difference is. More focus firing going down this time. This is actually a Shambler probe. That is a Shambler probe. I don't know what it's doing here. Shambler finally decides to start attacking the pylons, so additional Draconians don't warp in. Shambler has a metric fuck ton of money in terms of minerals, but Btyb has basically nothing. He came out for the worst in that trade in terms of his base, but he comes out better in terms of military units, which he's going to pull back across the map. What the hell is going on? This is starting to look like to be a repeat between that Deep Dark Fantasies and Kian match without the air units. But things started to just get real. Oh no, he's scouting for the expansions. He's not going back to defend. He could save his main here, but he's really intent to find the bases first. He knows Shambler has something somewhere, but his units have to move such a weird path around the map. Shambler taking 2 gateways this time. 3 gateways. They're just tickling him to death slowly. There's 4 Wardens there and 1 here, so this expansion is going to go down for sure. Okay. He just about lost 2 Draconians. They're both very close to dying. Yeah, he doesn't really have to sacrifice his main here. He can certainly take it back. It took them like 10 years to kill that Nexus. Now these probes auto-pathing back to his new base. Give it away completely. You have to be very wary about that. When your base is destroyed and you're in this kind of a situation, you gotta be careful and make sure your workers don't ever auto-mine somewhere. Anybody who's paying attention is gonna look in that direction. Here comes a lot of wardens. So these two gateways are gonna die. That blunder may actually end up costing Shambler very heavily. He's got a lot of wardens, but that's really all he's got. And it costed all the money he had banked up. There was an aquifer left behind over here. Additional Drakons coming in. Wait, they outrange wardens. 6 versus 7. Oh, that's the hold possession. That's the hold position bug. That's actually a bug. That's why I never use hold position. Because it breaks Draconins and Panoptises and probably everything. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. Shambler is really down to just cannons at this stage. Btyb has full control over that area, but there's still a couple units over here. Shambler could just go take another base. Don't take the low mineral one though. That would be unwise. Astral Omen. All right. Well, he doesn't exactly have the space to get gateway units out of his. I don't think he can even build a gateway over here to begin with. He couldn't get the units out anyways. You may as well take the smaller structures. As far as Btyb is concerned, it's just move in and kill him. He takes this expansion here, which is it's kind of close. Just taking back his main might have been better, but he would have to go all the way around. But this is close to Shambler's base, so if Shambler ever did break out. Not really much micro going on here, so he's taking quite a bit of damage. He decides to pull back. Oh. If he wanted to pressure this, he could take it. Just move up top and take these 2 wardens, but he's going to hesitate. And that hesitation gives Shambler the chance to start rebuilding. Additional Draconins en route. Harvesting a little bit of gas, not much. This probe was left over here. Shambler, you've got to use the Astral Omen. You can do it. Push the button. Time is running out. There we go. He's building a unit with it finally. His military units are just chilling out over here. He's gonna lose access to his main source of gas. I don't know. That's an exemplar, right? I don't know if the exemplar is gonna really help. I mean, he could do a lot of damage to Btyb's bases with it, but Btyb is so intimidated by those wardens. He could just charge right in and take this. You said he's taking tons of free damage for no reason. So there's the exemplar. It does have a fair bit of armor penetration. If he's allowed to get 2 of them, they're going to become a lot more dangerous because of overlapping AoE. There's a grand library. This is extremely indefensible. He is not paying any respect to possible air units at all. As far as he's concerned, Shambler is just trapped in this corner and has nothing, but of course the Astral Omen can fit in that corner, and you always have to be mindful of shit like this. This is what people are going to do when they're contained. They're going to try to find a way to get out. And if you aren't mindful of that, it could bite you in the ass. Both of his bases have no... Oh no, it's coming. This is going to be a disaster. He has to respond very quickly to this, or he's going to lose basically all of his workers. Okay, the damage is not amazing, but this is going to hold him up. It's tickling. He's not paying attention to this at all. It's tickling. He didn't panic build cannons here like he should have. Oh no! Oh no! Disaster! At this stage, Btyb should be just spamming wardens inside of his mineral lines, because where there's one, there's going to be more. But he isn't. He isn't. He's not responding at all. Oh, no. He charges the front. But there's 2 Dracodons here. A 3rd Exemplar is out, which is going to help hold the line here. Shambler has to micro it. He has to keep it away from the Dracodons. Just hold off as long as possible. He's going to move that one back down south. Yep, there it is. Oh, no. Oh, no. Btyb got too comfortable. It's a disaster. He has the scribes selected, but he didn't move them. Oh, now he's going to move them. Oh. Doesn't matter if he doesn't kill them all. That's all of his mining time is gone. All Shambler has to do is abuse his fear of wardens. This is a tragedy. Oh, there's a single Atreus. It is spinning. It is aggressively spinning at that. Shambler did indeed take this base for all of its high yield resources. Oh, so many minerals. All the better to float. There's no gas. No way to spend his minerals. He could just start spamming production structures down here. But keeping Btyb focused on his main as long as possible while he secretly amasses in the bottom is perhaps more ideal. You see another nexus going down here. Btyb is mining, completely shut down for the most part. He built a ward in here, but this is not a good spot. It can still just camp out right over here. The only way you learn how to deal with this shit is to either do it yourself or be subjected to it enough times. And it seems like the latter is going to be what happens here, except Shambler just doesn't have the gas to make more. Not able to, even trying to focus down the Exemplar, which is by far the most dangerous thing. At this stage, the limitations of his Dracodon-only army are starting to show. Welcome, T.O. Stalingrad. The manner smiley face. He's finally able to afford another Exemplar, and now he has an Aquifer coming over here, and is expanding over here. Btyb has not resumed mining in his main yet, even though nothing is presently over there. It looks like this one's going to come back and pay another visit, though, and there's no defenses here. It's completely shut down still. This warden is not going to protect shit over here. Scoots by there, sees that nothing is mining. He's gonna probably take out the warden. I'm not sure. Might take a lot of damage. Oh, it's a disaster. Oh my god. Some Dracodons came over, but it doesn't really matter too much. The damage is already done. Now he has to start chasing this thing all over the damn place. This is where these awkward bases are going to cause him some really major headaches. So, out of frustration, he might try to search the frontier. It's like, oh, he's got his area unit over there and he's tickling me. Better attack. But no, you can't do that at this point. You gotta kind of hunker it down and just accept that the state of the game has kind of evened out and you can't really speed it up again. So, you really gotta focus on defending your workers at this stage. You can't lose what advantage you have, of course, at this stage. Shambler's mining is going to be exceeding his own quite quickly if it hasn't already. He doesn't know that, though, and as far as he's concerned, it's just one base contained in. He should really be scouting, but as far as he was concerned initially, there is nothing anywhere else, right? Like when he first scouted it. But he doesn't know what the back of Shambler's base looks like. There could have been, advanced workers. There could have been a shuttle. Of course, what was really is that there was that random probe that was inside of his base, his main, that turned out to just be spreading shit across the map. And it looks like it's going to build here too. There is 2 Atreuses coming now. In my experience, Atreuses really are not that great for base sieges. They do have slightly more range, but they're so slow that if you ever need to maneuver around, it just doesn't really work that well. And with the Exemplars, their armor pen is going to deal with the Atreus quite easily. So when it comes down to unit control, so Atreus is kind of like just not really great for this kind of situation. Unless all the Exemplars get stacked up. then it's going to be a problem. It's taking Btyb quite a while to resaturate his expansion now, and he's falling further and further and further behind, and now there's an Atreus being built over here. Kind of a strange choice. If I was Shambler in this situation, I'd probably actually just go straight for heavy air. Maybe do a little scouting around, see if he's always still stuck on Gateway, then heavy air is great. The Atreus is kind of like matching his playing field rather than abusing it. So it's not really going to give him a huge advantage. And it could even serve to even, like, if Btyb was a little bit more on the ball with his economy right now and had taken another base, going Atreus and evening the playing field in that manner would kind of, like, possibly even be a really major mistake for Shambler, but there's a cannon going over here for some reason. This dude does have some dragons over here. That's a lot of expenditure. That's what? 600? No, 400 or so minerals worth. No, that's closer to... Aren't they at 150? That's 600. When 2 wardens would do the job. Now, Btyb has given up trying to pressure him at this moment, but he is kind of like... I think he's reached a situation where he's not actually sure how to proceed. He's not mining anymore. He is taking an expansion here, or he's not... He's mining. He's not expanding his infrastructure. Is what I meant to say. He's not making any more tech. He started to make units now, but there was definitely like an awkward period where he wasn't really sure. So he decides to commit. Gotta be careful of these exemplars. The Atreus could pop them if they stack. But they're kind of just like attacking whatever. Like some of them are even attacking the gateway, which is not a particularly high value target. And as a result, he is repelled. Shambler is still massing Atreus. He has more than enough money to go for heavy air, like Solarians or Empyreans, or he could just have made more exemplars or something like that. I'm kind of curious about his decision to go another landlocked army when the air units are winning. They're basically really keeping him in the game at this point. But, I mean, he is sitting on just about 5 bases now. As soon as this one gets saturated, it's not really going to matter what he goes at this point. His economic advantage is going to be so massive. More grand libraries. Btyb has never scouted the other part of the map. He has no idea that a secret army of crabs is being amassed in the southern state of Ohio. An Argosy being built in this expansion here. Btyb has had enough of this shit. He is going to go for air himself. But it's going to come a little late. These exemplars are going to give him a lot of headaches. They can tie him up for quite a while because this is an island. He can't get up there. And if he's not careful, he could even end up losing all of his Draconians to this. The flash shielding makes Protoss air harass very strong. Although his opponent is also Protoss, so it's not so much of an advantage, but it means the Aryans can be a lot more aggressive than you might really be expecting after a trade. So they can just kind of keep coming back. Archons and Atreuses are Shambler's unit of choice for his burst into the middle of the map. Meanwhile, there is I don't know what this unit's called. That's the one that increases the range of units. It's allied units that attack units that has debuffed, I think. So finally, Shambler has enough exemplars to force out the last of these defenders that were left behind. If these Drakenons chose to funnel up this ramp, he can just hold this ramp. Oh, it's an absolute train wreck. Worst possible position for Btyb to end up trying to fight him in. This is a little bit more advantageous, and he does have vision now. I find it strange he went for a support unit for his Drakenons rather than going for a change in military altogether. There's a lot, like I was saying earlier, there's the muscle memory of your mind, right? Like your habits and how you view things and how you see things. We saw that with Dark Fantasies, where he had that very like Brood War styled approach to, you know, PvT or whatever, which was you make Dragoons. And I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing here, where there's like, he doesn't really want to do a tech switch. He's not really sure how to deal with siege-based air coming out of Protoss. There's what I feel to be like some growing pains here, right? And on Shambler's behalf, I think he's somewhat a little uncomfortable with Protoss still. I think he's still like sort of like exploring Protoss since he was primarily a Zerg player, at least from what I saw early on. And he saw some success with Atreus's and Archons. So in all the games that I've seen of him playing Protoss thus far, that's where he's been tending to. Now, it stands to reason that despite the Exemplars, because of the presence of Magisters, this base will fall. But it kind of depends on his control as well. These can't attack air, so the Magister can't be killed by them. The Atreus landing a little bit of damage, not a huge amount because they were a little separated, but just the sheer number of units eventually thins out the herd. However, Shambler holds the days. Absolutely tickled. The last Exemplar falls, except for this one, which has begun tickling additional scribes. Btyb may feel that he is in the green now, that finally this game is over and all that's left is just to destroy the last of the offending defenses. Little does he realize is that there is a sea of crabs and cotton candy swarming towards him. And a single Simulacrum still endures, protecting that extremely valuable aquifer. I don't know if those Drakenons spotted the Archons. There may be a little bit of a surprise here. Nope, some intense spinning it was had. That Atreus just caused his pathing to blow up a few chromosomes. It finally registers. He done gone goofed. I thought I had you cornered. You can never be too sure. For the man whom shambles southwards. They like to shamble downhill. When I attacked you, Benace, I accidentally brought a probe. Oh, it was his probe. I thought that might have been some kind of mind control effect I wasn't aware of. It turns out the random probe to help Shambler establish victory. So, now, that was a strange game. That was absolutely a strange game. There was the base trade amidst everything. Fairly even unit kills all throughout in spite of, you know, Shambler getting in way more worker harass overall, right? But the resources really show towards that later half how much taking those bases really did for Shambler at that point. And to think that BTB could have sealed the game if he was a little bit more brave about just swatting down the Wardens and holding the top corner of that base. And he might have been able just to destroy the Nexus at that stage. And maybe 1 or 2 Exemplar might have come out. It wouldn't really made as much of a difference at that point. But, you know, a few small mistakes end up adding up. And eventually Shambler gnaws your knees. And before you know it, you're all covered in tofu.